Hi everyone, I am Cherie and I have Kyle here, and we would just like to provide an update on our book journey.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Yeah.
So last August we was our last book update, and we just wanted to update on what have we done since then.
Yep.
We had set some goals as well. So Kyle, what was your goal, if you wanted to just remind everyone?
Yes, look, I think my goals were a lot of the goals that I've continued to have throughout the year. So it was to get the book edited, so complete the self-editing, so then I can give it to give more sections to the editor. So kind of drip feeding. There's 7 sections in my book, so drip feeding each section at a time to the editor, and then get it back, and then obviously going back and forth to hopefully have the book ready for publishing by the 5th of February. That's been the goal.
Yep.
Yes, and it continues to be the goal and the vision. So at least I'm not swapping and changing or losing sight of the vision.
That's great. So I have been on a similar path as Kyle as well, where I've been learning all about how to actually reach out to an editor, a local one as well. So I've been looking at the resources by Writing WA, which are fantastic, and I've been able to connect with some editors there, but then also found a local editor who really helped me understand what editing involves, and then also the publishing pathways as well. So with this, I still feel like I'm still exploring the 2 pathways, and I just wanted to know with you, Kyle, what pathway are you deciding to go? Is it going to be self-publishing or reaching out to publishing houses? And what does that look like?
Self-publishing for me, I actually chose to do a course at this, kind of probably, I was writing bits and pieces for much of my life, and then it got more and more intense for about half a year, and I decided in that duration to actually go and get a course online, and learn about self-publishing and really dive deep into it. What was great about it was they had the full course that takes you from start to finish, takes you from Kindle and all the things, and getting the code on the back of the book. So it takes you through the whole process, understanding the outline, understanding how to write different sections, understanding a 5-step flow for each chapter, and so all those parts. But it also it allowed me to actually look at their kind of category of editors they chose, and it's really also allowed me to do group coaching calls. So I was able to do group coaching calls at 3 different phases. So editing the book, getting ready to publish, and I think print. So it allowed me to do lots of coaching calls. So that really helped me, and I realized if you're going to self-publish, definitely get some help. And kind of it took a while to work out that what are the advantages of self-publishing, what's the advantage of traditional, what has changed in the recent times, why is self-publishing such a big wave, and how can it be beneficial for what I'm trying to create, because each thing's going to be specifically beneficial for each person.
Definitely. So the research and also the book course that I've been taking has explained the advantages and disadvantages of self-publishing and publishing houses. And I think with self-publishing, one big thing is that you get to do it the way that you want to do it. You can approach your marketing as fast or as slow as you'd like, and you definitely have more in control on where you want to distribute it. For me, when I learned more about the publishing, going to see publishing houses, I think what stood out for me when it comes to the advantages was that they definitely have a lot of that credibility. You see them for what they are, and they would have more of the channels onto how to bring your book to reach more of the bookstores and also online. But I think it's great that with self-publishing, the fact that there's so many platforms out there nowadays where you can just be uploading your book online to Amazon and Kindle, like you said, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of, for me, I looked at it, I was like, this gives me more autonomy of my book, and my book got an idea where I want it to go, but it's also going to develop through me as I develop, and I kind of understand, and I break out of some of the limitations that I put on myself, and I become more and more authentically deeply in tune with my message. So having traditional publisher, I think it's very much, this is the pitch of the book, this is what you have to stick to, this is how we're going to market it. And traditional publishing is great if you just want to give something to someone and they can really help you out. self-publishing, one of the caveats I will say is that you can't just throw your pages to someone and expect them to just merge together what you're thinking. I've had to do a lot of self-editing and have a lot of kind of understanding where our book's going to be, and that's what we had a great session where we kind of read through each other's outline, and that really helped us kind of go, okay, great, this is what you're trying to say, that's what you're trying to say, and that's a lot of self-discovery in terms of self-publishing, I would say.
Yeah, so with the editing stages that we're both in, I also realised that how important it is to get feedback from, I guess what you could call it, the beta readers, and they are people who can be your friends, but also someone, ideally, people who don't really know much about what you're doing or who you are, and can just give you more of like that objective feedback, especially if someone in the editing who's an editor can help you with that as well. So it's good to have handed out each other's books to each other and actually read some of the chapters and giving each other feedback, because we really have been able to improve on it from then.
Yeah, definitely. And even this accountability, kind of appointment booked in had me up early morning editing the book. So having those having those future, those things in the future pulling you forward and pulling your dreams actually to the present to you, because if I want to edit my book and I've got to see Cherie on Tuesday, I've got to get this by that date, I've got to get that by that date, it allows me to kind of, create time that wasn't necessarily probably there in terms of my mental framework of what I was working with in the current days, just after Christmas, just relax, just chill, just take it easy. No, let me get this sorted before the new year starts.
And I think it's great that we're actually even recording ourselves to document the journey, because I can't wait to actually look back and see where we were at that moment in time to bring our books to life. So yes, to accountability, especially if you want to bring something that is quite impactful and big, that requires other people to support you as well. Yeah,
and to be completely transparent, our last conversation, I've been so busy in my business, which is great. Really, it's been the most demanding time in my personal business, which has been great. Which has meant that all focus has had to go to there. And an interesting thing with the book development has been working out, okay, if I spend a month on the book, then my business kind of suffers. I spend a month on the business, then the book kind of suffers. I'm trying to find that balance. And so I've kind of worked out, okay, this period from Boxing Day to New Year is going to be a nice space of time for me to set up for my business in the new year, but also for me to actually spend some time in that creative flow and editing the book and working out where the book is going to go if I want to publish it early in the new year. So that's where I'm at.
So then what does 2022, is that right? 2022 look like for you with bringing the book to life?
So ideally, publish date would be really cool if I had it for the 5th of February. I've already spoken to a venue, so it would be really awesome if that all works out. However, I do understand there's a bit of a time frame, and my editor's been great because they've given me a bit of time frame. Hey, if you give us 100,000 words, it's going to take this amount of time for us to edit it, get it back to you, go back and forth, and then have the final proof done. So 5th of February is the ideal. Has always been the ideal. I really did want to get it before I turn 20.
Is it 29?
Okay, so closer and closer to 30. So I did want to kind of finish it in that time period. However, if it doesn't finish in that time period, I'll just be really happy when it's published. I think I'm getting to the point of done is going to be better than completely perfect, because you can write a second book if you know what this book is, if you understand what this book's meant to be. You can write a second book, you can do an update, you can do many different things with it.
So pretty much your book will definitely be in, published next year. That's awesome.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so then do you have any idea of what the book cover looks like?
So it's going to be black. There's
or anything stands out at least, or if you want to keep it a secret, that's completely fine.
It's going to be black, and there's actually, I can in the video put up a photo of what it's going to look like, because Lexi's designed me kind of a little bit of a cover, which is kind of had me kind of excited and kind of, okay, great, this is going what the cover is going to look like. Let me make that digital framework, an actual physical thing.
Yes.
And that's really what I'm excited about. So it's going to be black and it's going to have portraits.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, that's great. I still haven't actually announced the title of my book. I want to leave that until I'm really happy with the manuscripts because I'll keep it a secret and then I'll be able to like share it to everyone. I think that would be its own like milestone as well.
And I've blasted the title everywhere, especially this year with with Every Daily Dose and having the title in the Daily Dose.
And that's fine as well because that captures exactly what your book is about and allows people to warm up to it when you release it.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so then I just wanted to know a little bit more about the chapters of your book and how, let's just say, what was your favorite chapter in the book? What was the easiest chapter for you to write?
So the favorite chapter was the heart and soul chapter, and that chapter goes through an experience I had when I was 18, nearly dying, being put into induced coma, healing my heart naturally, all these different sort of things, and actually from that nearly dying multiple times. And so that was a heavy experience, and I think kind of getting an understanding of what happened and getting my reality on what actually happened at that time, where there were lots of drugs, lots of lots of anesthetics, lots of kind of memory lapses, and kind of times where I was put in under anesthetics for long periods of time. That was an interesting chapter to kind of extract out of my heart, out of my soul, and getting that out, kind of defining that, knowing what to cut and what to put in, was actually quite easy in the end, because that moment in my life made me who I am today.
Yeah.
It very much was the pinnacle thing that defined me as the man that I am today.
Often it can be hard to write these really heavy experiences that were quite heavy and can be traumatic, right? But in this case, I have had a very similar experience as well. I found writing out the pain that I went through, and included in my book, very easy to write.
Yeah.
It was just the revision made it a bit harder because I didn't want to continue kind of like, reliving those experiences in your mind, but it really was an easy process. And anything, the writing, I noticed looking back, it's just very fluid and it just flowed because I was able to capture those moments so clearly.
Yeah. Well, see, and it's the trauma, like, because you can relive the trauma and you can have that concrete in that trauma as a part of me. For me, I kind of was able to detach, have awareness of the heart and soul experience, and look at it as a philosophical element in my life. But there was definitely, I know exactly what you're talking about, because discussing some of my younger childhood trauma was definitely the same thing you're talking about, where I kind of was editing it and going through it, and each time feeling so tired, so exhausted, so like emotional, and going, what's going on? And oh God, this is trauma that's still probably has maybe a few wounds, or maybe just me reliving it. I'm not looking at it detached. I look at my heart experience. So yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying about the revision of traumatic times.
Yeah. So then what would you say was the hardest chapter to write then?
Definitely about the younger years and some of the trauma that I experienced. That was definitely, I'm not wanting to defame character of certain family members. However, I'm wanting to still have power in this book and still have this book do something to someone and boost their energy, or create something in them, make them see control in a different way, make them see autonomy, make them see these different assets in their life in a different way. So I'm wanting to include those parts. I'm also not wanting to defame any characters, and I'm also not wanting to keep experiencing the trauma too much. So the childhood trauma part of the book is definitely the hardest to write.
Okay.
And I think that young child, those things that happen in your early years definitely define you, and some of those memories are as crystal clear as they are today. And when I talk to them about other people, they go, geez, that's so traumatic, you know? And so I've never probably looked at it and gone through it and gone, okay, I've just looked at it from a detached awareness of it.
Yeah.
But now in the book, I'm going deep and diving into it. So yeah. What about you? What was the hardest chapter for you to write?
It was actually the last couple of chapters, and one was actually about forgiveness. And it was really interesting because I was like, do I have to define forgiveness? I don't fully know. I have felt forgiveness on some levels, and everyone's interpretation and meaning of forgiveness will be different on some levels. So I didn't want to come across like to the reader that I knew what forgiveness, how to define forgiveness, but it was more like I wanted to share how it feels to at least feel that I've forgiven someone or I've forgiven myself.
Yes.
So it definitely was more of an internal thing. I realized writing about this was more about how could I forgive myself? Have I forgiven myself for going through these situations in order to forgive the other person?
Yeah.
So that was difficult writing. I would say it wasn't hard though, because it was challenging to write it, but because it just required me to just really reflect on it a little more deeper, reflect on more on how am I, forgiving myself, and that requires me working on myself and embodying that before I actually just write it and say that I've forgiven myself for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the joys of the book that I've worked out, is that it does challenge you. It does test you. It does kind of ask, okay, what are you trying to say here? What's the point of this? What's the point of this memory even? What's the point of you reliving this? What's the point of this? How does this define the character of who you are? How does this define the character of your soul? How does this, this quote that you've always liked, or this word forgiveness, what has it meant to you? And I think the clarity has been something that I've enjoyed going through the book, is going, who am I? What do I believe? What's important to me? And the book process has helped that clarity.
Yeah, so you say that the book process has been a big part of your own personal development growth.
Definitely.
As well.
Huge. Yeah.
Same. I realized that as I was writing, providing the guidance, because both of our books, we give a lot of guidance, right? I wanted to make sure that I walk the talk. So if I'm talking about how to love your body more, how to love yourself more, I definitely wanted to make sure that I have really lived through those and continuously practice those kind of self-love and being gentle and kind to myself. So I definitely, for next year in 2022, to really make sure that I am embodying all the values and all the guidance that I'm providing in my book.
Yes. Yeah, you're going to nail it.
Thank you.
Yeah. I've got faith.
Thank you very much. What would you say would be one of the chapters that your reader will just be really stunned by? What would really stand out? Like a chapter that really stands out for them to be like, whoa, like to just take away something.
It was interesting what you said actually when you read like the first section, and you're like, oh, I didn't realize there was so much of this, so much like death around your childhood experiences and all these sorts of things, and I think that was interesting. So, but I think probably the heart and soul section, and then at the end of the book, I also talk about God and wisdom, and that's the last section. So kind of my understanding, like I said, with your understanding of forgiveness, with what you can define it as to you and your experience, I'm on the same exploration with that. And I actually had a real life experience that made me just rewrite that section just the other week. So I think God and wisdom, but probably the heart and soul. That's probably like I said, that was the great awakening of me as who I have become. And so maybe for other people, they'll kind of see that and go, oh, that's interesting that this happened.
Writing a book can really do that too. Like there would be some chapters that maybe you don't have enough to say, or you feel blocked by, and then you leave it. And then you're having, because the reason for that could possibly be you haven't actually lived through or learned something yet in order to feel that chapter. And that actually was happening. This is why this book for me that I've been writing has taken me so long, because it wasn't something that I needed to work in a linear fashion. It was just like come and go. So I can really relate to that.
Yeah, it's kind of that thing of, and I guess I talk about this a bit, but deciding to take action in your journey, but also deciding to allow your journey to unfold for you. And something as simple as just like resting in the middle of your day, just going and sitting somewhere just quiet, and just allowing things to kind of be unveiled to you. You know, I think with the book, it's like, oh, I just got to cram, just got to, and then it's like, why is this one section not working? Maybe you needed to go for a walk to let, you know, maybe you need to do something, maybe you need to attack it in a different angle. And I think that's where, you know, allowing the book to be revealed to you as well, your journey to be revealed to you is also a powerful philosophical thing to do, I guess.
That's great. So just to finish off, what kind of advice would you want to give to someone who actually has a book on their, you know, on their heart? What kind of tips would you share with them?
So obviously, you know, it totally depends on what level you are, but you know, if you're just starting out, I would say probably carve out a time in your week. So ideally, I'd say get up just an hour earlier than your actual schedule. You know, it's not too hard to get up an hour earlier. You know, it's easy to kind of put some devices away and get to bed an hour earlier so that you can get up an hour earlier, and then just start journaling. And I think that's really what has helped me. Like I've written the book, and then I had all those pages, but then I also had a separate document that ended up being more pages than the actual book. And it was, I call it possible book entries, so possible things that I might put in the book. But what it really was actually, in fact, was journaling the experience of the book, journaling the experience of my life, journaling my thoughts, my feelings, my interactions. And once you start journaling, it's just like this bunch of random thoughts, but you can start to see a commonality. It's kind of that thing where we say that we kind of habitually do the same thing and have the same so many thoughts every single day after day after day. You know, we get into those habits. So when you start journaling, you'll start to see, oh, there's these core elements that I really feel strongly about. There's these core elements that I think identify me and my character. So then, after you've journaled for a period of time, you might be able to start splitting off sections. And that's the way that I find it. But I guess a bit of a random way to attack it.
No, that's great, because I do remember your mind maps.
Yes.
They're fantastic, and it doesn't need to look like right or wrong or have a certain structure. You just need to get it out there.
Yes.
And a recommendation I'd provide is to like just reduce your sources of stimulation, because if you've got like a really important message that you want to bring throughout the book, or even like a story, you can easily get influenced by what other people say, how the top booksellers authors have written their books and wanting their advice. But just make sure that like with whatever's in your heart with the book, to just write it out, to just start writing out and not judge it, and then you can get the help afterwards and pick out the commonalities or pick out the patterns and all of that later down the track. But I think it's just really important to make sure that when you start it, just comes from a very authentic place and it sounds like you.
100%. We've got so many, you know, people that kind of have, you know, made a great living or made a great life in this certain category, and then there's about 5 or 10 of them, but I like this one because of how he connects to me, you know, and you like this one. Wow, wait a minute, they're speaking a lot of the exact same things, but for some reason when he speaks it doesn't really hit my heart and soul, but when this guy speaks it does. And the opposite, vice versa. So exactly, authentically be yourself. You know, the importance of you showing up as yourself and not, I guess, catering or changing the framework of your message to maybe a family member, a friend, a guru, out there who's kind of, made a point that's opposite to what you feel and think. I think is really important. You've got to express your authentic self, get it out. Get around people that are going to champion you. Then once you're confident with everything out there, then start allowing it to be challenged. And when you allow it to be challenged by other people's thoughts, or maybe like with you, like a fellow book writer, then that allows you to go, okay, you think I should cut that? I actually think that's really important there. And that helps me to actually know that that's important in the book. So the more you know your book and the message, the more that when you open yourself up to other people's opinions, that there's at least some sort of foundation there. So any tweaking that could be beneficial, really, it doesn't remove the actual, like, what you created to begin with. Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Oh,
okay.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing, providing an update on where you're at, and so how can we continue to connect with you and just come along your own book journey?
Sure. So, and thank you for this conversation. I love our book conversation updates. So for me, I've got a YouTube channel called Decide Your Destiny, and I do a Decide Your Destiny Daily Dose. And a lot of those, daily doses are thoughts that I'm having through the day, or an experience, or a perspective. And so if you wanted to subscribe to that channel, I'll be updating it every day with video. And yeah, I guess Carl Sprudy's on some social media sites as well. So yeah.
Awesome.
And yourself?
Yes, so I have actually created a tab on my website, bloombycherie.com, where I've just linked all the videos that we've been doing, any other kind of podcasts I've been on to share more about my book, and so you will get to see the process of it all, and you can check out all those details there.
I've got to do that myself. I'm gonna do that in the future.
Cool.
But that's awesome.
Yep.
Good on you.
Thank you. All right, thanks guys for tuning in, and we will continue updating, and we'll see you next time.
Awesome. Thanks guys. Cheers.